ever thought that you've got a book inside you? Well, nor did Debbie Weiss until she decided that it was time to share her life experience and make it into a book to try and inspire other women who were going through the same sort of caregiving experience that she had had. So I'm delighted to introduce Debbie to you today on the Midlife Freedom podcast. So let's just jump right on in. Hi, Debbie. It's so nice to see you again. How are you?
Oh, I'm great, Lindsay. So nice to see you as well.
Fantastic. So thank you for taking the time to do this episode with me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, please. It's my absolute pleasure. The best thing about podcasting is being able to meet people like yourself in a completely different part of the world, wonderful people that I never would have met. So it honestly just fills me up.
Oh, fantastic. So, Debbie, I would love for you to tell us a little bit more about you, because I've got lots of questions. And anybody who's watching this is actually watching with video. You can see you've got books in the background. So I'd love to get on to how you did all of that. But first of all, give us some context. Tell us a little bit about yourself, please.
Sure. So my name is Debbie Weiss. I am 61 years old, and I say that because it wasn't until I turned 50 that I realized that I had been a victim of my life circumstances for the majority of my life.
Mm-hmm.
From the time that I was 17, I became a family caregiver. My dad had a massive stroke at 45. He survived. I was his caregiver for the next 30 years. And then later on, my oldest son was diagnosed on the autism spectrum. And then my husband also had physical and mental ailments that required me to become his caregiver as well. And so, along with other life challenges, as we all have, it felt like it was just one thing after another. And this is what my life was destined to be. And when I turned 50, I kind of had an awakening or an aha moment that we can talk about.
Yeah.
Where I realized, no, it doesn't have to be this way. And so for the last decade, I've been on a journey of just kind of turning that ship around and figuring out who and what I want to do and be.
Oh, my goodness. I mean, inspirational beyond. So I've got to ask, what was the catalyst?
So I think it was two things. It was first and foremost something for me about the number 50. For everybody, it does different things, different times. It could mean nothing. Something for me about 50 really made me step back and think, wow, how fast did 50 years just go?
Really?
And how fast are the next, hopefully, 50 going to go? And I knew that I did not want to be that person who got to the end of their lives and looked back with regret of things that I hadn't done or tried or seen or just lived. And I had nothing specific in mind. It wasn't like I wanted to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. Like I had none of those kinds of things, dreams. I had nothing. But I just felt that there had to be more. And I realized at that point that nothing was going to change. No fairy godmother was going to come down with her magic wand. It had to come from me. And I didn't know how to do it, what to do, kind of thing. And it was, it's been and continues to be a journey. The other thing at the same time that happened was that to celebrate my 50th birthday, 3 of my friends insisted that we go away for a weekend. And I didn't imagine leaving my family, like they were going to fall apart since I was juggling everything and everyone. And my friends insisted, and we started laughing from the minute that we met at the airport. It was and still is the best weekend of my life. And it really made me see that I forgot who I was as a person.
Yeah.
which I think happens a lot to women.
Yeah.
But I was so young when I started caring for my father. You know,
Mm.
I never had any time as an adult where all I had to worry about was myself.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I realized I had literally lost my laugh.
Yeah, I mean, I can relate to it. And it's a really, really profound moment if you get the opportunity to rediscover it, actually.
Yep.
Yeah, same thing. I mean, I had a group, I met up with some school friends after, what, I don't know, 30 years after school. And I actually realized how much of myself I'd lost. And it's a beautiful and a frightening experience at the same time, isn't it?
It is. But if we look at it, if as long as we take it and learn from it and
Yes.
make the shift, you know, because you can look at it and say, oh my gosh, this is so sad. This is so awful. This is so pathetic. My life is horrible. And you could go down that rabbit hole as well. It's
Mm.
really what you do after you kind of have that realization, I
Yeah.
think.
So what did you do? What were the first steps that you took?
So even though we're talking about it as an aha moment, looking back, it wasn't like, oh, I came back from that trip and I knew exactly what I was going to do. It didn't work like that. I don't want anyone to think it was like that. It's just, I don't think that I really realized that I didn't have a plan. But for me, I knew that it had to start with taking control of my health. And for me, that was all about weight. I have had a
Oh,
weight
really?
problem from the time that I was born, literally. Six
My
months
goodness.
old, 6 months old, the pediatrician said to my mother, you've got to switch her to skim milk. Like, come on,
Okay,
ridiculous.
shocked.
So,
Absolutely
yeah.
shocked.
So at that point in time, I was at least 100 pounds overweight. So I'm not talking about, 20 pounds.
Yeah.
And I had, I'd been on diets since I was, oh gosh. I mean, I went to Weight Watchers for the first time when I was 10. And Weight Watchers is as old as I am. And it started in New York, which is where I'm from. And I remember my mother took me. It was this horrible meeting in some basement of a church or something. And it was like, you can eat lettuce and tuna fish. And I didn't like tuna fish. And lettuce by itself was pretty boring.
And you were 10?
And I was 10. I was literally 10. No exaggeration. And probably before that, on some level, there was dieting because I didn't come from a family I didn't come from an immediate family who struggled with weight. My extended family did, but not my immediate family. And so my mother couldn't understand, what the struggle was like. And so she would try and help, but by basically depriving me of food or hiding all the snacks or treats, and then I would find them and I'd be like, cookie. And I'd eat the whole thing because I never knew when I was ever going to get it again. And so my whole life has been about the up, the down of the whole diet thing.
Oh my goodness. So I mean that's like a whole chapter, like a whole section on its own.
Oh my goodness. If you think about your own life in snippets, it's like you have different chapters, different stories. The only through line is my weight from the beginning to now. And no matter how, I'll get to it and I'm at a good place today with my weight, but it doesn't matter because in my mind, I will always be a fat girl. And I don't mean any, whatever with that word. It's just, that's kind of like it is what it is. And so I decided after 50, all right, I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to go back to Weight Watchers because and I've tried every diet. That's the one that actually I had most success with, but I don't know why I did this. It's not like I read a book. I don't know what led me to do this, but I said, I am going to approach this differently, because every time in the past, it's always been, well, if I don't lose 25 pounds in 3 months, then I'm a failure, or by my birthday, or by this wedding, and whatever it is.
Yeah.
And the scale ruled my life. And if it didn't show me what I wanted, well, then what's the sense of even trying?
Right.
But this time I said, nope, all I'm going to do, I am going to go to Weight Watchers, and I'm going to attend a meeting every week. That's it. I don't care what I eat. I don't care if I exercise, like nothing else. I don't care if I lose weight. My only goal for myself is showing up to the meeting.
Yeah.
And that's what I did for a couple of months. And I did not lose any weight, but I kept going to the meeting. And then after that, I added, something else. I'm going to pay attention or track my food 50% of the time, whatever, little small accomplishments.
Yeah.
And it took me about 3.5 years to lose 90 pounds.
Wow.
And that was probably about 7 or 8 years ago now. And it's the first time ever in my life that I've been able to maintain a weight loss. Now, I've gained back 10 or 15 pounds once. That was kind of scary, but I caught myself.
Right.
And I just feel like I have a much healthier relationship with food now than I ever have in the past.
Fantastic.
And so that's how I started. And when I saw how, breaking it down in these small, bite-sized steps made a difference, I thought, that kind of worked. So where else can I apply that to?
Amazing. So I know that you've qualified, but you also did a lot of work with Jack Canfield. How did you get into that? Because that's very much about your achieving your personal goals. Was that tied at all with the weight loss, or was the weight loss entirely down to you? Well, and Weight Watchers, but
Jack Canfield came much, much later. That wasn't until a few years ago. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, that was just all me. That's what I mean. I don't know where I got these ideas from. They were there was nothing that I mean, at that point, I guess there were podcasts. I don't even know when podcasts started, but I wasn't, if there were I wasn't listening to them. If there were personal development books, and I don't even know if he had written Atomic Habits. Maybe he had by then, James Clear, like none of it. I had not been exposed to any of it.
Yeah.
I just did it that way.
Yeah. And now the girlfriends that you went away with on your 50th birthday, were they involved at all? Were they a support group for you, or did you just go out on your own?
Well, this group of close friends that I'm extremely lucky to have, they're always there supporting me in anything that I do. But, they don't really live like in my neighborhood and that close to me. And it was my own deal.
I mean, it's just fantastic, because I think that's the most difficult thing, is when they have to be self-motivated. So you get that trigger, then you have to be self-motivated, but it's staying on track, isn't it? That's the hardest thing that I think, and that's what knocks most people off. Because but you built that brilliant habit of showing up for yourself and making that commitment and sticking with it. And I mean, that sounds like it was sort of life-changing.
Oh, definitely life-changing. And also the idea that I don't have to be perfect. If I eat a cookie or I eat whatever, it doesn't matter. It's not like, and this is where my relationship with food has changed. And this is more recent in that, you know what? There's these cookies that I love right now sitting in my kitchen. If I want one, I'll have one. And I won't feel badly about it. But I can look at it and think, is it really worth it? And maybe it is. Maybe there's a time that it is, and that's fine. It's just food doesn't rule me anymore. I'm not constantly thinking, oh no, but if I eat this, oh my gosh, when am I going to have this again? And, it's not a constant worry.
Yeah, brilliant. I mean, that kind of changes the whole dynamic, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And I never in a million years in my life thought that I would get to this point.
Seriously. So speaking of getting to this point, I would love to ask, obviously more about your books, but mainly because it's so inspirational, because so many people say, oh, I'd love to write a book, or I'd love to start a podcast or start whatever. And it's actually getting it into form and making it real, that it just throws so many people off. So talk to me about that, how it started. Was it something you'd always wanted to do?
Nope. I never wanted to write a book in my life. It was not even a little bit of a thought ever. I have a numbers background.
Right.
I'm a CPA. I'm
Okay.
no longer practicing, and I've been an insurance agent for the last 30 years. None of it has anything to do with writing anything.
Oh, wow.
No interest. The way it came about was through my whole journey, when I realized, wow, I made it 50 plus years without realizing that I've had the power all along to change my life. I just didn't know it. And
Wow.
I thought, okay, I'm halfway smart. There must be other halfway smart women out there who don't know it. So how can I tell them? And that's where the podcasting, of course, comes in. And how do you reach a larger audience? And people kept saying, you need to write a book. You need to write a book. All these things that, you've been through. And I thought, well, that's great. But unless I pay a ghostwriter to write a book, that won't be happening. And I don't even know where to find a ghostwriter. I have no idea how much it costs. I'm not all the things.
Yeah.
And then one day I'm listening to a podcast, and it's a podcast I'm not a regular listener of. And the woman had a guest on who helped first-time authors get their stories out there. And I thought, oh boy, this must be a sign. Someone's talking to me that I am listening to this. So I contacted the woman, and I loved her instantly. And she was just launching a course, a 12-week course for first-time authors learn how to write your book.
Yeah.
And I was scared out of my mind, because I figured everybody else there would have writing ability, because most people always have wanted to write a book, and that wasn't me. And as I was kind of trying to get my courage up to say yes, my husband, out of the blue, totally separate from all the other health issues that he had, was diagnosed with terminal blood cancer.
Oh my goodness.
And I was seeing a therapist at the time, and I said to the therapist, I am embarrassed that I'm even bringing this up to you at a time like this. And I tell her about the course, and I said, obviously, this is not something that I can do now. Hopefully she'll run it again. And the therapist said to me, I disagree with you. I think this is the perfect time, because you're going to need something separate from what's going on in your life. And I said, well, what if I can't show up one week? Or what if there's homework and I don't do it? Or what if I don't, ever write the book? Like all these things. And she said, who cares?
Yeah.
And I thought, yeah, that's true. Who does care? And so I signed up for the course. It was great, because there was only 5 of us, and it just felt like a very safe space. And I think it probably took me about 6 weeks to think, maybe it's even possible that I can do this. I didn't think that it was, and it was very, very difficult. But kind of once I figured out how I had to kind of organize it in my mind and understand a little better, what is this book going to look like? How is it going to be organized? And then once the outline kind of got together, then it was easier for me to fill in the blanks. And so when my husband passed away, pretty much 6 months to the day that he was diagnosed, I was 3 chapters shy of finishing my memoir.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing. And yeah. So did it provide something for you whilst you were going through all of that with your husband? Because I mean, it just must have been so hard.
It absolutely did. It was exactly what my therapist had told me. It
Right.
really gave me something else to focus on. And it was different. Like, the writing was very difficult. So it wasn't even something easy to focus on. But it was, it was kind of a goal and something new and challenging myself. Like, could I really do this? And then as I wrote more words and more chapters, I was like, oh my goodness, like, I'm really doing this. Is anybody going to read this? So it turned exciting.
Right.
And it was motivating. And then it gave me something else to tap into every day. I would look at my schedule, and, if my husband had doctor's appointments, I would get up at 5:30 in the morning and I'd write before he woke up. If he was in the hospital, I'd bring my stuff to the hospital, because I would be there all day, and I would write when he was sleeping, or he went for a test or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it gave me something else to focus on. It was therapeutic because it was my memoir. I was actually having to tap into other memories, some good, many not.
Yeah.
And, that was therapeutic as well. So it's really, I guess, still shocking to me that she would have said it was the perfect time to do this, but she was right.
Yeah. Oh, congratulations. And it's taken you to some fairly fun places, hasn't it? Was it that book that got you the, let's just say, accolades?
Well, do you mean Kelly Clarkson's show?
Yes. That's so exciting. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yes, that was super, super exciting.
Okay.
I actually, through a connection, Kelly wanted to do something for November is National Family Caregiver Month.
Right.
And
Okay.
so I was on a segment, every show she has a segment at the end that's a Zoom conversation, not an in live person conversation. Although I tried to tell them when I talked to the producer, I'm very close to the city, so I could be there. And he just laughed at me and said, no, this is over Zoom. I said, okay.
Oh, okay. Okay, got the message.
Don't put your luck, Deb.
Yeah, fair enough. And so how was that experience?
Oh my goodness. I only found out about it that I was actually going to be booked 48 hours ahead of time.
No.
Yes. So it was very hectic, because I don't even know how these people in live TV put these productions on, because I was so surprised how literally details were like at the last minute.
Really?
Yeah. So for me, it was quite stressful. For them, it's every day.
Yeah.
When I was taping it, I think they tape I think it was like 2 weeks before it aired. And I, was in this room that I'm taping this now. And let's say my time was supposed to be like 3 or 3:30 in the afternoon, and it was running late. And I no longer have any blinds on my windows.
Right.
So I'm sitting kind of like behind the scenes, but I can see Kelly's current guest, I'm watching this, and the producer comes in to talk to me, and he says, do you have any window coverings? Because I'm afraid by the time she gets to you, that light is going to come in. And I said, well, and block the shot or skew the shot. I said, well, no, I'm sorry, I don't. And he said, well, can you move yourself away from the window? And I'm like, and now this was probably with 4 minutes to go.
No way.
I said, no, I can't. Like, I have stuff everywhere. I
Yeah.
can't just, here it looks nice behind me, but if you looked over here, it's not so nice.
Right. Yeah. The reality of pretty much any home studio
Exactly.
or
Exactly.
office. Yeah.
So then I wound up it got delayed a little more. Now they come back on because now it's going to be dark outside.
Yeah. Seriously.
It's supposed to be daytime in the show. And I mean, here at this time of year, because I taped in November in the East Coast of the United States, it gets dark now at 4:30, 5 o'clock.
Yeah. Yeah. We're the same here.
Yeah. So I don't even know what they did. Maybe they blocked out my windows because I couldn't move. I wasn't moving. And, I wasn't going to tape towels up over my window. I don't think they'd like that, how that would look either. So it was, so much of that kind of thing that you just don't think about is going on behind the scenes. But as all that's going on, it's of course making me more nervous before the interview.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, but
So
it's great.
Oh, really? Oh, it's brilliant. So congratulations for doing that. And then, so what prompted you to write your second book?
Well, so the first book, I didn't realize because I didn't know anything about writing a book, but I had to make a conscious decision of what type of book it's going to be.
Right.
And so I chose a memoir, which just meant that there was no self-help element involved. So in other words, at the end of each chapter, I didn't summarize with my thoughts or my takeaways or what I learned from this. It's just literally like 30 plus stories of my life that are in a sequential order that add up to an inspirational story. And so then after that book, everyone was like, oh my gosh, this is great. This is great. What'd you do? What steps did you take?
Oh, okay.
And so that's where I came to the second book is just, talking about different things, qualities, ideas that I have sprinkled into my life over the last decade that have, changed me.
Yeah. And so would you be happy to share some of those? Because I think that's the thing. People just want doable, practical steps.
Yep.
Because your sort of your big goals or rediscovering yourself seems like so far off. And actually it's just made up of really tiny just changes in your daily routine, isn't it?
Absolutely. And you're thinking. So I can say, I mean, there's 15 sprinkles in my book. It's called The Sprinkle Effect.
Yeah.
And there's sprinkles like a sprinkle of perspective, a sprinkle of mindset, of belief, of action, discipline, curiosity, connection, joy, and more.
Can you tell me a bit more about the curiosity?
Yeah. It's funny. I just did a podcast episode on that one last week.
Oh, no way, really?
Yeah. Yeah. And I haven't done a podcast episode on one of my sprinkles in a while. So curiosity it's kind of stepping out of your comfort zone. And this is not a shameless plug, but even though it's going to sound like it, my memoir is called On Second Thought, Maybe I Can. Yes. And the reason I chose that title is because the majority of my life, if any idea, opportunity, whatever was put in front of me, and it could be as simple as you want to learn to roller skate, right away, I would say, no, I can't do that. I don't do that. I'm not creative. I'm too clumsy. I'm, whatever that was. But yet what I've learned is that if you just, even if that's still my first inclination, if I just wait another second on second thought, well, wait a second. Why can't I do that? Maybe I can do that, and you kind of allow that curiosity where sometimes, I know I was saying no, but my curiosity was a little bit piqued. Like, what is that? Could I really do that? And that's the whole idea, is just being open-minded to things and learning to be curious and learning it's okay to try something and not like it. You learn something or not being good at it. You learn something. You're always growing. And if we stop doing that, and like I was always saying I can't, so that left me like in my little safe box.
Yeah, where's the fun in that?
Exactly. And yeah, I guess it's safe, but I'm not, there's nothing new, there's nothing exciting. If I, I've discovered something about saying I'm not creative was like, and still I have trouble not saying it. That has been my lifelong thing. I'm not creative. I don't have a creative bone in my body. I can't even tell you how many times I have said that over and over and over.
Really?
Again. Oh, constantly. Because in my mind, I'm like, I can't draw. I can't sing. I mean, I sing and I love to sing, but it doesn't sound very good. I'm thinking of all those things that I'm not good at crafts. Like I'm not interested in crafts. I consider myself not good at that. I don't have like that artistic mind.
Yeah.
And what has actually happened with all these changes, with the writing of the book, it's like the top of my head blew off like a Pandora's box. And now I have all these ideas.
Seriously, and they're just flooding in.
It's crazy. It is
to do what?
Crazy. Well, I just have all these ideas about like products. I want to make, I want to make a jar of sprinkles. What are they going to look like? And then I'm off to, I don't know, all different things. I'm just jumping all over the place. I have inside now, I have a coloring book. I went, when I was at a spa, I forced myself myself to go to a painting class.
How'd it go?
So I was so in my head for the first 20 minutes or so that I thought I was going to be sick. And then when I calmed down and realized no one cares what I'm painting.
Yes, so
I'm
true.
not looking to have this hung in a museum. I was able to relax into just really, I mean, the calming effect, which I was shocked by, of just painting. Who cares what it looks like? It's letting go of that, of the outcome.
Yeah.
And just giving into the process. And since then, I have not yet gone back. I'm actually going back to that spa in March. And I am also going to force myself to go back again and do something, because I found it relaxing. And I think each time that you step out of your comfort zone, that's when you're growing. And I feel like I've discovered so many things that I enjoy. Journaling, that is a perfect example. I don't journal. That's always my mantra. I don't this, I can't that. I was so afraid when I heard the idea of freeform or free flow or whatever you want to call it, journaling, the kind where there's no prompts. It's just you and this blank piece of paper.
Yeah.
Oh, my heart was pounding just thinking about it. What am I going to write? Because I think for me, it's this mindset of like being the perfect student. What am I like? Is somebody coming in and grading my journal?
I was going to say, nobody's seeing it.
Exactly. I'm not sharing it. So what am I so nervous about?
Yeah.
And I remember hearing a woman who said, I don't remember, and I can't read off the benefits of this type of journaling, but there are many.
Yeah.
And I remember the woman who I heard on a podcast.
Yeah.
So podcasts are great for everything. I heard on a podcast, and she said, if you don't know what to write, just write. I don't know what to write.
Exactly.
I don't know what to write.
Yeah.
You'd be amazed that eventually you know what to write.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. Literally 15 minutes later, I looked up and saw pages. And where my mind took me from where I started with, I don't know what to write, to where I wound up was just unbelievable. Things that were going through my mind, I had no idea.
it's magical what it actually brings out of you. And as you say, I mean, even if I sometimes sit there and think, oh, I don't know what to write, or, you know, I haven't got much time to do this. If you actually just say, you know what, let's just get out a page or two and let's just see.
Yep.
And sometimes asking that question of, so I might not know what to write, or what if I did know what to write? And it's just leaving that open-ended question. And as you say, it's almost like this flow, these sparks of information, they just kind of travel right down into your hands, and you just write and write and write, which is what's so powerful about journaling, because you'd never get that if you're on the keyboard.
Exactly.
Or do you, if you're writing? I've never experienced it. Is that something you get if you're writing?
I don't think so.
No. Okay.
I mean, me personally, there is something about the pen and paper.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So curiosity, obviously one of the sprinkles, which sounds like it's just opened so many doors.
Yes.
What are the other things? Well, two questions actually. What are one of the other key things that you found really beneficial? And also, before we finish, I'd love to ask, can you actually notice how you've changed as a person?
Oh,
And
God.
can you like put it into words?
So the key sprinkle that I didn't mention is a sprinkle of responsibility.
Ooh.
And speaking of Jack Canfield, and this is where it really like made sense to me for the first time, since I am a math person. In Jack Canfield's book, The Success Principles, he talks about a formula called E plus R equals O, which is event plus response equals outcome. So the event could be something that happens in your life. You add into it your response, and that equals the outcome. I always thought there was no R. I just thought, oh, if that happens, if that event happens, the outcome is a foregone conclusion. You know, so it's raining outside. Oh, the day's going to stink.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's the event. That's the outcome. By realizing that how you respond to that event changes the outcome, really gives you the understanding and that power. It stinks to look back at your life and think, oh, you mean it didn't have to happen like that if I had responded differently? It's okay, I think, to look back to realize, but instead of dwelling on that, it is empowering, because the next time in 30 seconds that an event happens, you can now say, okay, I choose how I'm going to respond to this.
Yeah, it's so freeing, isn't it?
And so powerful. It's so powerful because it shows you that regardless of what happens, regardless of how bad it is, you can always do something to change the outcome. And that there's nothing more powerful than that.
No, absolutely. I think I needed that today. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
I really needed that today.
Good.
And so can you put into words how you
Yes.
think you've changed as a person?
Oh my goodness. That's to say in every way would be an understatement. I think
Really?
my awareness of and the power of my own thoughts, how I used to just think if I thought it, it must be true. I never really analyzed it. And now I'm able to catch myself, not always. And sometimes it takes a while, but then I realize what I'm doing, and I'm able to change that maybe negative self-talk.
Yeah.
I think, and I just journaled about this yesterday, and this is an extremely difficult thing for me to have come to. For the first time in my life at the age of 61, I can say I actually love myself.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. And I like myself. And I don't think that, I know that I never felt that way before. I was
Mm.
always, you know, self-deprecating and, talking to myself as many of us do, and I did for
Yeah.
so long, berating ourselves when you
Yeah.
make a mistake and what's wrong with me and why do I have to be like this and all the things, all the things. And I'm not perfect because nobody's perfect because no human is perfect. And I know that. But I'm also, because of these changes, I'm just happier. And I have to say, I was not an unhappy person. Have always been upbeat,
Mm.
but I think just inside, I am happier. I appreciate so much more about life
Mm-hmm.
and the world around me. And, it's kind of, I don't know what came first, the chicken or the egg, but the sum of the whole thing is a completely different life that I don't even think 5 years ago I knew I was capable of.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful to hear. It really is. Congratulations, Debbie.
Thank you. But anything's possible.
Yeah.
I really want anyone listening to know. I don't care. I don't care. You could be sitting there because it used to be me saying, oh, yeah, of course she's saying that because, it's not as bad as what I'm going through.
Yeah, yeah,
Right?
absolutely. Yeah. And she
And it
has the
might
nice
not
house
be,
and
and
the
it might,
car
it
and the
doesn't,
money and
exactly.
yeah.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter if you're homeless. Eh, There is something that you can do. There is something you can do.
Yeah, absolutely. So how can people find you? Where can they get hold of your books? Find
So
out.
the best place is my website. It is debbieweiss.com. You got to put the R because otherwise you get to a realtor in California. And the books are sold online where you buy books, typically Amazon.com, of course, and Barnes
Yeah.
and Noble and anywhere else.
Okay. Fantastic. Well, Debbie, thank you so much for sharing your journey with us. And it's just hugely inspirational. And I'm really grateful that we spoke.
Oh, me too, Lindsay. Thank you so much for having me. It's an absolute pleasure.
Hi, what did you think of the show today? Thanks for being here. I hope you loved it. If you want to follow up on anything you heard in the show, there will be links in the show notes below. Now, also, I'd love to invite you, if midlife transformation is something that you're interested in, please check out Unbound Coaching, which is just releasing this spring. And it's a beautiful coaching container to support you whilst you're going through your midlife transformation. And certainly if you want to do a midlife reinvention, please check out that in the show notes. I'd love to have you on board and to help you through your transformation. Okay, see you soon. Bye.